Number 1 on the list under public comments is John Moreno. Under public comments.
Good evening, board, trustees, administration, members of the audience. My name is John Moreno, city councilman, school administrator, proud parent in the district, and voice of the Bulldogs. I will try to remove the emotion regarding the Bulldog Aquatic Center at the old Calexico Municipal Pool site. When we talk about the names of athletic facilities on the confines of Calexico High School, we talk about Willis Ward Field, Elmer Belcher Field, Carl Varner Gym, Linda Godfrey Gym, named after people who were directly involved in Calexico High School athletics. Ward was a football player who died as a result of an injury after a game. Belcher and Godfrey were teachers and coaches who were instrumental in building the lives of young men and women on and off the playing field. And Varner was a superintendent who was instrumental in the construction of a new gymnasium on campus. All were given credit because of their contributions to the people and programs they helped establish. We've been having a somewhat sensitive dialogue on what to name the swimming pool. A consideration of the contributions that the late Margarita de Necochea was given and how she was a voice for the community and the many students she helped along the way to further their education and goals, and the monies she secured to refurbish the Carnegie Library, and that her deeds shouldn't go unnoticed. But in the realm of athletics, she was not as involved. And let me preface this by saying that the Necochea Padilla and the Moreno Carrillo families have been friends for over 80 years. Margarita de Necochea was a community activist who led by example and pushed many of us to get involved and to stand up for what we believed in. I believed in her and supported her causes for many years. I worked alongside her when there was discussion of demolishing the Carnegie Library in the 1990s. I stood with her in support of the preservation of this historic building. My opinion is this: there were others in the community who were coaches, teachers, and parents, and who were never considered for the pool naming. And I feel we should give credit where credit is due. Many of them volunteered hours so programs at the swimming pool could flourish and become competitive. The Remingtons, especially Tom Remington, and coaches Mike Fearson and Nick Servin were fixtures at the pool. Another very involved family were the Alvarados. Debbie and the late Francis Alvarado spent many a summer supporting the program and the students and the kids of the community. And with, of course, Ray Alvarado, who spent over 35 years as a coach, football, basketball, baseball, tennis, and other sports. He was a teacher, an athletic director, an administrator, and CIF representative for the glory of Calexico High School. These people are just as deserving of having some consideration. I'm almost finished. But no one has brought their names forward. And in the tradition of Willis Ward, there was a David Navarro, an 8-year-old boy who drowned in the pool in the early 1960s. Yet his family was never mentioned having a lasting tribute in his honor. I have been accused of being callous and abrasive in this ordeal, but like many people in this room, my roots run deep in Calexico, and in addition, my family has been involved in business, education, and politics for many years, and we've always been big cheerleaders for what Calexico is, was, and will be. Mayor June Kim is in favor of naming the pool after Mrs. D, but he was always in opposition to the construction of this pool from the get-go. He did not want to see this development, and now he's showing his support. Norma Aguilar, former board member, I believe jumped the gun when she made promises to name the pool, and she has no authority. Dan Romero, former councilman, has no authority. Mayor June Kim has no authority. I have no authority. A committee should have been formed to come up with possible names. A disservice was done to the Necochea family by leading them to believe this pool was to be named after their dear departed mother without a healthy dialogue from all stakeholders. Only this Board of Trustees has the authority to name that pool, and I ask the board to take action or provide direction. Finally, I think we should name the Carnegie Library in honor of Margarita, and that would be the most fitting tribute to her work in this community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Number 2 on our list tonight is Margarita de Necochea on their pool naming process.
Good evening, honorable board members and Calexico citizens. My name is Margarita de Necochea McCollum, daughter of Margarita Padilla de Necochea and Fernando de Necochea, pioneer families of Calexico, California. I am here today to address the community pool naming process that is on today's agenda. I stand united with my family and friends to ensure and support the honorable process of the Board Policy 7310, the naming of the Calexico City Pool, Margarita de Necochea Aquatic Pool Complex, which was originally intended in honor of our mother, a Mexican-American who donated her time and efforts for the betterment of Calexico. Oh, you can't, oh, I'm sorry. You're in here.
You can move the
I can
the
move
microphone.
this?
Yeah, the microphone.
Oh, I see, this, okay.
There we go.
Thank you, thank you. This policy process has been followed for over 4.5 years and needs to be honored. I trust that the board has reviewed all of the documentation presented and a consensus is in the works so we can have closure at tonight's meeting. There have been setbacks and naysayers such as she encountered with the restoration of the Carnegie Library. But I always remember an inspirational quote my mother used time and time again to inspire students and the community she loved and cared for so much. She loved to quote, "Si se puede," a quote from the beloved Cesar Chavez, who led a historical march that took place in Calexico's historical Rockwood Plaza Park, and we had the honor of his visit to our family home. I have a beautiful sympathy letter that I brought with me, and I'd just like to quote from it, from Senator Dianne Feinstein. Within the letter, she says, "Your mother," and I'm quoting, "your mother will be remembered for her deep commitment to her community and the residents of Calexico. For 26 years, Margarita made a profound impact on the lives of countless students through her work at the Calexico High School Library. Margarita also made tremendous contributions to her community, working to restore historical buildings and generously contributing to scholarships for local students. As a lifelong Calexico resident, Margarita left her mark in the community and will be sorely missed by all those who were fortunate to know her," unquote. Anyway, these remarks paint a very clear picture of my mother. So I want to thank all of the members of the council, the school board, and the Calexico citizens who have supported us during this very stressful time for our family. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. de Necochea.
Thank you.
Next on our list is Gloria de Necochea on their pool naming process.
Good evening. My name is Gloria de Necochea. I'm here in the hopes that there will be some kind of agreement or consensus reached tonight regarding the pool name that honors not only the memory of my mother as it was originally named, but also honors the child who won the pool naming contest, so that everyone can leave feeling comfortable and honorable. I was born and raised in Calexico, and all 6 brothers and sisters, all of us attended public schools. I grew up, because I'm number 4 out of 7, class of 1965. I grew up at 835 Heber Avenue. My mother was a housewife until I was 18 years old. She literally just stayed home. That was it. Very traditional home. We had chaperones with dates. Everything was very strict. But then when I turned 18, she got a job, her first job, and she was in retail, and she was in heaven, and she would come home and tell us how these people came in and they couldn't afford this and that, and she helped them figure out something else, and they left happy. Then she got the school job at the school library as a clerk, and boy, she really started changing. By then, I was in my 20s, and I was so impressed because I didn't grow up with a lot of Latina role models. We didn't have any Latino teachers, no principals, there just weren't any around. So hearing and seeing this whole evolution, and this is right when feminism started and all kinds of stuff was changing politically and civil rights, very inspirational. Well, she passed away in 2011 unexpectedly, and by then she was living in the house that my grandparents had grown up in across from Rockwood Park. She was leaving a very different life. She got totally involved in other things in the city. She got involved with the people in the park. What I wanted to say tonight is that a few months after she passed away unexpectedly, and she was 89 years old, so she did have a good long life, my 6 siblings and I were notified that the Calexico School Board had unanimously voted to name the pool after her. And we were surprised, we were happy, we shared newspaper clippings, it was in the newspaper, the Ivy Press, the Calexico Chronicles, all over the place. And I was excited as a Mexican-American myself that now there was going to be a building in Calexico, not just named after my mother, but named after a Mexican-American woman. You know, there's all these men's names all over the place. So I was very excited. And since it happened to be on the school campus, even though it's not just for Bulldog kids, it's for kids from the other high school too, and it's for the community, I was excited anyway. Now, we never asked for my mother to be honored. We were very touched. My older brother Gordy and my younger sister Michelle have attended the 2 prior school board meetings because when we learned that the pool's name had been changed, we were so surprised. Nobody had called us. So despite many decades of friendships with people in this room, nobody had called us, nobody told us anything. We were just very confused. So we've tried coming here, and coming from Sacramento, from Dallas, from Los Angeles, from San Diego. We've been coming here and trying to share information about my mother and how it wasn't just about writing letters wanting the pool to be rebuilt. It had been about your bylaws saying that you want to name buildings after people who have contributed to the community. So I thank you for addressing this naming issue. And I wanted to tell you ways she got involved that weren't, so high profile and fancy. There's stories about her nobody knows. Because she lived across from the park in her later years, she was always getting involved with people in the park. When we came home for Christmas, we couldn't have our tamales or do anything until we went across the street and we served whoever was in the park. And then she had her favorite homeless people who stayed in places near the border, and another woman who was in the middle of downtown. I'd have to drive her around all over town delivering these plates. Nobody knows those stories. Her address book at home is crammed with social workers, city and county agencies, homeless agencies. She found people in the park who were veterans who deserve veteran benefits. She had one blind man end up getting his sight restored. These are the stories we just heard all the time, and to me, they were more exciting and more inspirational than some of the bigger awards. With the high school kids, she got all of us involved in helping them with their personal essays to apply to college, with helping inform them about financial aid. When the girls couldn't afford prom dresses, she was calling all over town. She was calling us. We had to call our friends. Everybody had to drag out all their old dresses from when they'd been bridesmaids, stuff like that. So there's a lot that wasn't high profile, that was private. I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope you reach consensus tonight, because it has been very stressful. And the last thing I want to say, and this is very hurtful, so my voice is choking. I was told that some of the people who don't want the pool named after her actually said that she would have never let her children go to a public pool because she thought she was too good for that. We all went to the public pool, and anybody who knew my mother, that's the craziest thing in the world. So I'm very disappointed that some of the people against her being on the name have this kind of malicious, untrue stories being circulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Necochea. Okay, and last but not least on our Public comments is Norma Aguilar under the subject of the pool.
Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue. I almost didn't come today because I was really tired. I had a long day, but I'm glad I did, because if there's one thing I cannot, I don't want to say the word tolerate, but I don't like is words being put in my mouth. I did not jump the gun. I did not make any promises to anybody. I was part of the previous board that gave the direction based on the recommendation from the previous pool committee to name the pool after Miss Margarita de Necochea. I did not make any promises, and I want that to be clear. I don't understand how it has gotten to this point where to me it feels personal, and I don't like that. That it shouldn't be about that. Mrs. de Necochea contributed a lot to the community, to the school district, and that's why her name was proposed in committee. If we're talking about naming it elsewhere, that conversation should have happened before. And John did approach me previously, saying, I said, well, if you feel that strongly, come and make it, vocalize. That didn't happen until just recently. So that's where I'm saying, I'm asking the board to consider that this action has already happened, and if there is a compromise that meets the needs of everybody, I'm asking for you guys to and resolve it and end this, because this is really shouldn't have gotten to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar.
I'd like to second it, but with discussion, just.
Okay, so there's no discussion, so do you want to pull an item?
Yeah,
and
let
then
me pull the items.
Jose, okay.
I-8, I-9, and I-10.
Huh?
I-8, I-9, and I-10.
Item K, discussion possible actions. K1, pool naming process. At the last board meeting, we had discussed what was it that was done and what was it that was missing, and a lot of backup information was given, and I don't know if the backup information is still here. It should be here. Okay, the internet is really slow. Okay, there it is. I personally came and worked with Janet and other office staff to make sure that what we were given was correct. And again, the office staff was 100% correct. They were 100% right. What was given to us, it was the right information. Yes, there were proclamations about how Mrs. de Necochea was to be commended for her work. However, that was the only thing, or the only proclamation that we found. There was nothing that we found regarding the previous board having voted on naming the pool the Margarita de Necochea complex or swimming pool. We went back as long as 2011, and there is nothing. We looked, Janet looked, Adria looked, I looked, there's nothing. There's no agenda items, not even from the previous boards. And we have, we can't go back before April of that year, because that's when the earthquake happened. So that would have been the starting point. So, like I said before, what we were gonna make sure that we did the right thing as far as looking and making sure that there was nothing else that needed to be found, that there was no other information that needed to be presented. And again, the office staff was right when they gave me that report that there was nothing else to be presented. There's no other board actions. We looked for possible minutes from previous pool committees. There's nothing. There's no minutes. There's nothing that states that the pool was going to, or that somebody, or that the board had taken action on naming the pool the Margarita de Necochea pool. So I just wanted to state that. Also, just to clarify for some of the comments that were made today. Yes, our board policy 7310 talks about facilities. It does state that the Board of Education shall name schools or individuals, buildings in recognition of, number one, individuals living or deceased who have made outstanding contributions. Number two, individuals living or deceased who have made contributions of state, national, or worldwide significance. But also of number three, the geographic area in which the school or building is located. In this case, the Calexico Aquatic Center. It talks about Calexico. It talks about our town. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear, because we are, by doing this, by naming, or by the proposed name, we are not violating any laws. Okay, so, and I just wanted to make that clear. So that is my my report. That's not my take on anything. That is just my report, because I did say the last time that I was speaking to you on behalf of this item that I will come back on the next board meeting and report any findings, any new findings. And there's nothing new. There's no other findings to be reported at this time, because there's nothing that we found. Hold on, we're gonna open the discussion to the board members.
Okay, with that said, I know in the last meeting we did discuss to come into agreement as far as finding a name to name for the swimming pool. And all I want to add to that, even though we did our homework, we looked for these minutes, we weren't able to find anything, I don't see how the district would have allowed for the presentations, for the grant writing, to have Margarita de Necochea on everything if there wasn't something said that the pool was going to be named Margarita de Necochea. And I think we're all in agreement with that there's no way that the district would have allowed several presentations. The board meeting clip that we saw, the presentation was Margarita de Necochea swimming pool. So with that said, even though there's no minutes, I know the family has emailed all of us, and we have, well, at least with me, we have come to an agreement where we are going to respect both the family and the student who won the competition. And I think the name that flows the most would be Margarita Necochea Aquatic Center. No, Margarita Necochea Bulldog Aquatic Center. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Real. Mr. Calderon Jr.
I'll reserve my comment till last.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon Jr. Mr. Ortega.
Well, at the last meeting, I indicated that I was open to a compromise to put an end to this. I do understand that all of the plans and everything else that's been presented throughout the process of this pool has had Margarita Necochea, which seems to imply, and there is an intent that was the name that was intended for the pool. Again, I said I was open to a compromise. It seems that the name you've just mentioned might be the solution to this issue.
I believe so, because we're bringing both names into one, and I think they flow as far as naming it all, one name.
Okay.
And I think that's the compromise that would benefit the family and would benefit the student as well for the competition.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Real and Mr. Ortega. And I will stand. I will keep my my stand on the fact that although this is a political office. I am not a politician. Mr. Weiler, you might correct me, but I don't care. I am not a politician. I got elected to serve kids, the students, and again, the students are my only priority, and they will be my only priority. That's why I got elected to do this job. With that said, there has to be something that previous boards did in order for that those plans to have the Margarita de Necochea name. I'm not implying that the board took a previous action. It could have just been a direction, or it could have been just the superintendent that gave direction, and the board went with that. So whatever this board decides to do, I just want to make sure that the student doesn't feel like we sold out that student's work for a few political votes. So, and that is not, because that's not going to be the case here. That's all I have to say about that. Mr. Calderon.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, not only do I come to you as a board member, but I come to you as a parent, as a citizen of this Calexico for almost, 53 years old. The only time I left was when I went to college. But I've been here. I've raised my family here, and only because I love Calexico. I think most of you have mentioned that we live Calexico. We want the best from Calexico. But one thing that I can tell you, that I also come from a pioneer family, and those that also work for the district. And what they have taught me is do the right thing. And tonight, I can tell you, I was one to ask for any proof of how this name came about. And no disrespect to the family, because I feel for you. But if it's not in writing, it never happened. We've had many people come up here before us saying that this happened, but there's nothing in writing to confirm that. We're here for our kids, and I mentioned it earlier when I made my statement. We're here for our kids. This girl won, or young lady won this contest. This contest was well publicized in the internet, through the school system, and through everything. And no one said anything. Not until recently that people have come up forward, have been coming up forward and saying that this was named on behalf of Ms. Necochea. But again, I stress, we have put a lot of hours in looking for these minutes to confirm this allegation, and there's nothing. And I know that I'm not no one to sit here and blame other boards, because years from now, they're probably going to say, hey, Calderon was there, he voted for it, and so forth, and I won't be able to say anything. But I can only vote on what's here tonight, and that is that there is no proof of this. And again, my heart's to the family, but I can only go with what's in front of me. And tonight, I propose that we go with continue with the Bulldog Aquatic Center. That is my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon Jr. Unfortunately, Ms. Zuno is not here tonight to make a proposal or to speak her mind, and I was counting on her being here tonight, but she's not. She had to, for other reasons, she could not be here tonight. So, well, we have a couple options, because we don't. This is only action or possible discussion or possible action. So we don't really need to take action at this point. So we could just leave it as that. Table the item and wait until Ms. Zuno comes back.
I want to make a motion to pass this, to have some closure already, move forward with the swimming pool. So I want to make a motion to pass Margarita Necochea Bulldog Aquatic Center.
Hold on. Mr. Weiler.
I recognize the parliamentary procedure of making a motion. I watched the video from last meeting, and I'm aware of discussions from prior meetings. And I see that there's still somewhat of a division on the board. And as you mentioned, Ms. Zuno is not here. So you may not get a majority vote anyway. What I would suggest as an option, one of many options, is that this be placed on the next agenda with at least 2 written resolutions as backup materials so that the community actually sees what the names are that are being proposed. Mr. Calderon Jr. presented a name, Ms. Real presented a name. There can be two resolutions as backup materials. And that allows the public to come forward and make whatever comments they want for a final time, and then you have a written resolution, no question about the Brown Act issues, and you vote next meeting. Yeah, that's one option. Or you can wait for a second on this motion and vote on it tonight.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Real. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a second by Mr. Ortega. If no further questions or concerns, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No. So we have a tie. So what happens?
I motion to take into consideration what the attorney just told us. Let the community decide. Those that live in Calexico and those who are here in Calexico decide. We'll publicize it, bring it back, and then we'll go from there. That's what I recommend.
Okay, so we have a 2-2 vote, so that means that the, hold on, Ms. Real, so that we have a 2-2 motion, 2-2 vote, so that means that the motion that doesn't pass, right?
Correct. You need a majority of the board.
majority.
You need 3 votes to
Okay.
pass it.
Okay, so now at this point, Mr. Calderon, do you, is that your motion?
My motion is that we take the attorney's advice and bring it back next meeting, and then the community can decide if they want to come up and voice their opinions, and then we'll vote.
So
Letty might make it next time, and we can actually take care of it next week, or next board meeting,
The
which would
next
be
board
the
meeting.
8th?
The next regular board
Yeah.
meeting.
Yes,
November the 12th.
the 12th.
Okay.
Okay.
And just so that I'm clear for direction, we will provide a resolution that has the suggested name from Mrs. Rael, and then the Bulldog Aquatic Center. So there will be 2 separate resolutions, and the board will take action at that time.
Yes.
On one.
And I would suggest, and I'll work with Ms. Burgos on this, that the public agenda, the outline that the public sees initially, be more verbal in terms of these are 2 of the
The
names,
options.
but there may be other names as well.
Okay.
To allow the public full opportunity to have one final comment session.
So there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Calderon Jr. to have the two names, suggested names, for discussion and action. I'm sorry, the next board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Ortega. Any questions or concerns?
Yes, there's no 2 names. It's one name. We're combining 2 names to one. I don't understand what 2 names were.
No, yours combines Margarita Necochea Aquatic Bulldog Center, and mine, I'm just saying Bulldog Aquatic Center like the young lady won the contest. There's 2.
Actually, the original, the student that won the contest named it the Calexico Bulldog Aquatic Complex.
Okay.
That was the
Well-
name. So is that what you want?
Yes, I stand corrected. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
You're
so-
right.
Actually, the original, the student that won the contest named it the Calexico Bulldog Aquatic Complex. that was the name. So is that what you want?
Yes, I stand corrected. Yeah, it is. You're right.
So, and Ms. Real, you're suggesting the Margarita de Necochea Bulldog Aquatic Center. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay, so those two, so, get that, Janet? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second by Mr. Ortega. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 No. Motion passes 3-1. Voting in favor are Mr. Calderon Jr., Mr. Ortega, myself, Mr. Calderon, and voting against that is Ms. Real. Motion passes 3-1.
Excuse me, we're leaving now. We came here to discuss the pool. It's been going on for 4.5 years, and it's coming back to square one. So, thank you very much. It's the intention of the board to totally disregard all the respectful, honorable things and service that my mother has done for Calexico. It's a sad day for Calexico. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Alternate ad